Hi there everybody, it's Rarity here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you so much for joining me again today for another card making video. The card today is going to feature a new bundle to me. This is called Frosted Forest. It's an online exclusive bundle that includes a photopolymer stamp set, coordinating dies and the decorative masks. Okay, so a bit like Layers of Beauty, this all comes together as a single bundle, which is just fantastic. Okay, so what we are going to do today is use all three elements, but of course you've seen me before use parts of this bundle. You can use the stamps on their own, masks on their own, etc. So you know, mix and match all the elements together to get the effect that you want for the project that you're creating. But as we're showcasing it, I'm just going to show all three of those elements all working together today. So we do have a stamped outline and this lovely sentiment in there: no beauty shines brighter than that of a good heart. That lovely. Got a nice thank you, got a birthday wishes and a thinking of you. So that's a really nice generic set of sentiments, and of course the pine trees will be good for Christmas too, so you can combine it with other sentiments as required. And then we've got this nice tree in here. I've got no idea what kind of tree it is. Don't think it matters, it's a pretty tree. So we're going to use this one today just to keep away from that sort of Christmas feel. I'm not quite ready for the C word yet. Coordinating dies there, so you can see that you can cut foliage and outline dies for all of those trees. And then you've got this little border one as well, which you can use separately. And then of course we've got the masks. So there are 6, I think. Yep. Oh, right, I've just noticed something that I didn't realise when I was using them. So there are 3 that coordinate with the image that we're going to do today, and they are numbered 1 to 3. So there's that number 1, 2 and 3. Hopefully you can see those on there. Okay, so that's the one that we're going to be playing with today. There's just the 3 masks. So I'll leave those to one side. The other 3 are labelled A, B and C. Okay. And this is for the other trees in there. So of course you could mask off that if you didn't want to use both of them. Okay, so we've got all of those in there to create those as well. So those ones are just going to one side for now. And we're going to concentrate on the other ones. Okay, so I've already mounted up the stamp onto an E block, and I've got the sentiment and the little bird. Okay, so you need an E block for that large tree, and this is what we're going to use. Okay, and we're going to do a bit of embossing on there as well. So we're going to use the, I think it's called timber embossing folder, to put something in the background just to sort of bring through that wood theme. Okay, I'm going to use the same colours, but there is going to be a twist on it, so I think it will look a little different. Okay. But I don't think I'm going to use Pebbled Path. This is Pebbled Path for the sentiment and the birds. I think I'm going to keep it with, I'm actually going to use Early Espresso, I think, for those. So just a few little variations on the theme, but otherwise keeping it quite simple in terms of the layout and what we're going to do today. Okay, rightio then. So the mixing and matching is that I've used white cardstock throughout this. We're not going to use white cardstock for the sample card, the card we're going to make. I'm going to make a crumb cake card base and emboss that, and then we are going to use basic beige for our blending and all that kind of stuff. So having a different coloured cardstock underneath is going to change the colour and the look of those colours as we work with them. Okay, so for the time being, just going to pop those out of the way. First thing we're going to do is emboss. I've got so many bits and pieces. Emboss the this background. So I'm going to use this timber. I think it's called timber. Embossing folder. This is a thick embossing folder. Most of the embossing folders we've got at the moment are thick ones. Okay, so on my Stampin' Cut and Emboss, the instructions are printed on this number 1 platform that you use every time. You never this is always in use, so you've always got it there. You've got your basic instructions of how to die cut and how to use the different types of embossing folder. So for a 3D embossing folder, I need this base, and I need to sandwich my embossing folder on top of that, and then put the number 4 plate, which is this dark grey plate. You get all the plates that you need when you purchase a Stampin' Cut and Emboss, and that's whether it's the big boss or the mini boss. And just like the big boss, the little boss has what you need to do in terms of cutting on there as well. Alright, and then there are the other plates as well, which allow you to work out what you need to do in terms of instructions for the mini boss. Okay, mini boss is great, but obviously these larger folders won't fit through the mini at all, so this is what we're aiming for. So we'll run that through. Make sure you roll it in hinge first, if you know what I mean, and then it will pop out the other side, and we can take off our plates. There's our embossing folder, and I'm just going to put that back together. Where did I put my, there it is. I'm just going to put my other plates back on there, ready for later. And then we get this beautiful texture. Look at that. Isn't that marvellous? Love it. So both, you know, embossing with embossing folders and heat embossing are just really great techniques to add oomph to your project. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit of ink to this, and we're also going to add some ink to our layer, which is this one, I think. Let me just check against that size, because I've got a load of scraps here as well. Yeah, so this is the layer that we're going to use when we're going to put some ink on this as well. These scraps are that's for the blending the masks, and that's a scrap for the sentiment if we need it. Okie dokie, so let's do the blending onto the backgrounds first. So I'm just going to bring in some scrap paper, and because we're using the brown cardstock, I'm not going to introduce the green this time. I'm just going to go with whatever the residual ink is on here. So there's a bit of early espresso on this, there's a bit of copper clay on this, there's probably all sorts of things on this. It's just the residual ink. Because I don't want this to overpower, I just want it to bring out a bit of that texture. And then the same with this is just to help it sort of blend in a little bit. It's going to pop. It's quite a stark difference between this and the crumb cake. So a little bit of ink around the edge is just going to sort of blend that in just a little bit. So I didn't pick up any extra ink. I've just gone round with what was left, just to knock back that colour a little bit. Okay, it's totally optional if you don't want to do this step and you're happy with how it looks, then that's fine. So you can see how that's just knocked that right back now. Okay, and it just sort of blends in a little bit, otherwise it would have been quite stark. You might want to go for that, and that is totally your choice. I just wanted it to blend just a little bit. Okay, so that's our backgroundy bits done, so we can put together. Okay, so for the blending portion, I've just got this piece of this is just some random white cardstock. It's not SU cardstock or anything, which I've kind of drawn the outline of the stencil there on. And what I'm going to do is basically use this as my point, my fixed point. Use your grid paper, use whatever you need to do. Okay, so just while I'm sorting this out, I'm just going to tape that just for a second and use it like a hinge, so that I can position this piece of cardstock underneath. and the only thing I'm looking for on that, this is the biggest one, I just want to make sure it covers the cardstock, because we're die cutting it. I'm not looking for it to be straight, aligned, or anything else. I just want to know that what I'm going to blend is going to hit that cardstock. So I'm just taping that. Okay, which means we don't need that tape there anymore. We can just line up each of the stencils, and hopefully I haven't put that so that it's going to interfere, just about. Okay, and lift those up and reposition the stencil rather than trying to mess about with anything else. Okay, so from a colours point of view then, we're going to start with the trunk of the tree with this mask. Okay, so we're going to start with copper clay. I'm going to need some nice scrap paper just to knock back the ink. So I'm going to take off most of the ink, just to make sure that that colour's coming through correctly. Okay, and now I'm left-handed. I'm going to sweep it in from the left. You want to sweep in from the right, because I want to provide some sort of shadow onto this. Okay, so I'm going to come in from the left-hand side of this image. Hold that tightly in place. You can tape it down if you want to, but it's not a complicated image. So I'm concentrating on this left hand side. Barely any inks landed over here at the moment. So I'm using the majority of that ink now just to go over this left hand edge. Some of it's drifting over, okay, which is fine. But I'm concentrating on this edge. Maybe a bit at the bottom. Just to blend that in. Okay. Okay, I'm going to keep that stencil in place, and we're going to switch that up for some early espresso. Now, actually, well, what I'll do, I'll move it, and I'll just show you just quickly that we do have some shade that's naturally come into play on that. I hope that comes across on the camera like it does in real life. Okay, but we can replace this, we can line it up, and it's quite easy to line up on the image anyway. Okay, but that helps you just get it into the ballpark. And now we're going to bring in some early espresso. I don't have lots of brushes. I've got 15 brushes that cover all the sort of light and darks of most of the colours. I have one that I dedicate to brown, and I'm just going to put some ink on that and just make sure it's coming through as early espresso, rather than picking up too much of the copper clay. It's going to pick up some of the copper clay from the stencil, because that ink's going to stay wet. But again, I'm going to concentrate on this left hand side and at the bottom. My early espresso is a little on the dry side, so it's not going to pick up tons and tons of ink anyway. But just by keeping that over there, you could use the small brush if you wanted to have a little bit more control. Okay, we're going to just pop in some shade on that, so that can be washed in a bit. And I don't know whether you can tell the difference just yet on that one, but that's just picked up a nice bit of shadow on the left hand side of that tree trunk. Okay, so we'll be coming back to early espresso when we do our sentiment. This is stencil number 2, which will be the main sort of background for the tree canopy. We're using Granny Apple Green. Okay, not everyone's favourite. Okay, and I'm just using the notch and eyeballing where this is. That middle bit covers that central portion quite nicely. And again, we're going to load at the brush, but knock it back. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Focus on that left hand side and then blend across to the right, just to put in some natural shade. So I'm not going to go mad over that right hand side. I'm going to come back to the left and really go over that some more on if you want, but I don't want to because the second layer is going to use the same colours, so I want to have that contrast. Okay, and then again, while that's in place, we're going to bring in Pretty Peacock. And again, I just want a little bit of this, not too much. And again, Pretty Peacock's one of my drier ink pads. And again, I'm just going to go down this left hand side, a little bit onto this bit here, but really concentrate on that bit. A little bit down the middle, but there. Okay. Oops. Where did I put the other one? That's it. Okay, so hopefully you can see that really clearly now, how that's fading out as it goes towards the right hand side. Okay, so stencil number 3. Oops. Just line that up. There'll be bits that are, you know, won't totally cover everything. There'll be bits of cardstock coming through from the background, which is fine. But we're using exactly the same colours. We're going to use Granny Apple Green. And because we're layering that ink, it's going to appear darker on this layer. But again, we're going to concentrate on the left hand side. And then just bring in a little bit on the right. Okay, and just like we did before, we'll bring in some Pretty Peacock, just a touch around the top, outer edge, maybe a little bit under here, just to give it a little bit of shading. And that's what we have. Okay. Do you know what? I'm tempted not to put the outline on, because I think that looks really, really nice as it is. The outline puts in these sort of little detail for the leaves and puts some impressions on the tree trunk. But I'm really liking how that looks without the outline image. I think that turned out really, really nicely. And look at the difference it makes by blending on the basic beige. Okay, so I think that just makes it look entirely different, even though I've used exactly the same colours. The blending's going to be slightly different. You're going to use a slightly heavier hand and all that kind of stuff. But I think that looks really, really nice. Okay, so, oh, stuff everywhere. Let's lift this off. And we'll just bring in the die that goes with this. Oops, that's got my stick stuck to my fingers. So yeah, so I'm going to skip the stamp for this. We're still using the stamp set though, because we want to use the greeting. So that's nice and easy to line up, and I found that if you just tack it across the bottom there, that should hold that in place. So I'm going to pop that onto the die cutting plate already, because the other thing we want to do is our little birds, which I'm going to stamp in early espresso ink. I've got this scrap of basic beige here as well. So we can stamp a couple of these guys. Might even stamp 3, just because I can. And then the sentiment I'm in quandary over. I think I should stamp it straight onto the cardstock this time, rather than doing a separate piece. And this is where you have to hold your breath and be really, really brave, because you're stamping directly onto something that you've already prepped and die cut and everything else. So you can use grid paper and stuff to make sure that that's nice and lined up. I'm just trying to line it up with something that is a straight edge, which is hopefully the bottom of the cardstock. Give that a firm press, and that looks okay to me. Okay, so I don't often stamp directly onto my card layers, but I think in this case that's worth it. Okay, so my little birds, now there are 2 dies. Oh, that's why I did 2 last time. So I did, in case you're wondering, the banner on the original was cut with the Nested Essentials little banner there. The set comes with 2 of these little birds, which is kind of nice because it means you can cut out more than one at a time, but I haven't coloured them in yet. So I've stamped in Early Espresso, and the other colour we used was Copper Clay, so I'm going to use the Copper Clay marker. This is the light one, just to colour in those birds, just to keep everything sort of all toned in. Okay, so obviously you can do yours whatever colour you like, and they're so small, there's nothing to shade. I'm just adding the colour. You could also use, because I stamped in the classic ink, water-based ink, I could use the blender pen to add, to like pull the line colour and get a more subtle effect if you wanted to. Okay, but I'm just keeping it real simple. Okay, so we're going to pop 2 of these on right now. So we'll have to do just 1 extra pass through the die cut machine just to cut that 3rd one. Am I going to need the 3rd one? I don't know. So if I've got him, I can use him, can't I? So I'm just going to roll that through the die cut machine. So that's enough. There's space on there to get both of those through. So I kind of use the birds as a sort of a substitute for embellishments, which is why I was thinking maybe I should do 3 this time, especially as I haven't popped up the sentiment this time. So that's that. So we've got 2 birds. Let's just reposition one of these. If you peel back tape on the back onto itself like that, it's less likely, not foolproof, but less likely to tear your card. It does minimise it. Do you find Basic Pages what I call a fluffy card? So when you cut it and stuff, sometimes you get these little fluffy edges. I think it's something to do with it. I think it must be the amount of dye or something that they put into these things. Flirty Flamingo's another one. That's what I would call, and Calypso Coral. Fluffy card. Pills up easy. Okay. There we go. So these little guys are perfectly sized to fit a mini dimensional behind. So I'm just going to grab some tweezers here and just pop those onto the back of these bodies, and if you press into the back it lifts up the edge of the release paper so that they're easy to pick off. You can do the same with the big ones as well. They tend to be easier though. Okay, so those guys are ready to go. And these are great for the tree trunk as well. So can just pop a couple of those there, and again just pressing them in means that the backs come off real easy. And we can pop 3's plenty on there, we don't need to go mad. And again, if you want to, you can press with your thumbnail or something, and it just helps lift the edges of those, just to help them lift up. Depends if you've got any nails, I guess. Okay, there we go. Those are our elements then, so we can start building this card now. So this, whilst this is a 3D embossing folder, it's not got, shall I say, it's flat texture, shall I say that? It's not quite as lumpy bumpy as some of the others that we use. So if you just go easy with your tape runner, it should be fine. And we'll pop that onto our card base. Just get those edges lined up. And press that into place. And this is going on flat as well, because we've got the dimension on our other elements. So just pop that on central-ish, and preferably something like straight. Okay, and then that means we can pop on our tree. That'll just hug that sentiment a little bit. It comes off the edge again, just helps everything come together. And then we've got our little birds that we can bring in that are just flying up and around. Okay, it's kind of a shame that there isn't an alternative bird that's going the other way. I think that would have been a nice addition to this set, but that is what it is. So we have got those 3 birds there, and that is all I'm going to add to this one. So it's a very different look to this with the muted cardstock. So this is the crumb cake, and then using the basic beige to do the blending and everything, and omitting that outline gives it a softer look, I think. So I'll leave it up to you. Tell me in the comments which one you think turned out the best, and experiment yourselves. You could use Very Vanilla or any of the other neutrals to experiment with, and do different blending techniques over the top. So world your lobster in that regard. So yeah, that's it from me today. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Please do like, subscribe, share, and all that good stuff. Really does help build the channel, because that's what YouTube likes. It likes to see interaction with your channel, which helps it get it gets shared more widely on YouTube, through the algorithms and stuff. So that's it. Hope you're staying safe, take care, and I will see you again soon. Bye!